Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of I Am That Bitch podcast with the Two Greek Girls segment. I'm the Macedonian and with Rula TK. Hi, my friend.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Welcome back after a long little
Hiatus.
hiatus. Thank you very much. What
Glad
are
to
we?
be back.
I know, right? It's been a minute for sure, and a lot of
Yeah,
shit's gone on. But
yeah.
anyhow, today we are going to talk about marrying Greek versus marrying Xenos, which is a non-Greek.
I love it. I love
So
it.
in my family, so I'm the only one that has married my own kind, out of like the first cousins. Everyone else married mostly Canadian, except two married Europeans. Yeah.
Uh, I don't have any first cousins that have not married Greeks
So
because
you're completely opposite. Everybody
all
else
my
married
first
Xeni.
cousins are. But you have to remember, all my first cousins live in Greece.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so yeah, all my first cousins there actually, out of all of them, there only two are married. One married a Romanian, no, Albanian. Fuck.
My
She's
God.
Albanian and speaks fluent Greece. Beautiful, beautiful woman. And Vula married obviously somebody from the village who I love. My cousin's husband, Bobby, fucking stand-up guy. I love this guy. Anyhow, wait till me. I've been begging them to come to Canada. Hopefully they'll come next year.
I love it. Love it.
The guy's a beast. I fucking love him. He's so unbelievable. But yeah, so for my family, we married all Xeni except for me. I had the traditional one. And then I actually told my grandmother I'm marrying a Greek. Now, my grandmother on my mother's side all my mother's side, most of them are pro Massey. Don't call them Greek. They get offended. They're like two to the Greeks, like the Greeks to the Turks type of thing. It's history, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And she says, if you have a Greek band at your wedding, I'm not going to dance. I said, okay. I said, if anything, you don't have to come either. I don't give a shit.
She
Well,
said that?
my grandmother here, I didn't really know my grandmother in Greece because we really
Okay.
didn't go back and forth.
Yeah.
I met her like a handful of times, but my grandmother here, who I grew up with, um, it was a typical European. The first eldest son is the favorite. Their children is the favorite. They could do no wrong.
Got it.
Where us, we were always the underdogs and shit on. And my grandmother, yeah, I wasn't her favorite person. She wouldn't even call me by my name. She would actually call me. And my dad's sister called her out on this in Florida. She goes tachupishta, which means in Greek like tokoritsi, or like, but
Oh.
not in a nice way, like that girl.
Okay. Yeah.
And my aunt said, "Who are you talking about? Your granddaughter? She has a name. Use it, right?" Like,
Good for your aunt.
yeah, my grandmother didn't like. Meanwhile, I'm the one that fucking ran and left work and took her to all the doctor's appointments.
Well,
Not
yeah.
the favorite ones, but whatever. No, I'm not bitter. Whatever. Anyhow,
So I have a question. So all
yeah,
your cousins that didn't marry, who married Xeni, did they have Greek weddings
yeah, they did.
or traditional Massey whatever,
Yeah,
whichever way?
yeah. No, yeah, they had traditional weddings. Like most of the Canadians really just took on our traditions. Listen, our weddings are a
Really?
lot of fun.
They are. They're amazing. That's
Yeah,
why I'm curious if they went the the European route, for lack of a better term.
absolutely. Well, yeah, all the traditions were there. My cousin's wife, Janet, who is probably my favorite. Well, she is. Not probably. She really is. She has embraced our culture. But she grew up with a lot of Macedonians, right? Like
Okay.
all their friends, that's how she met my cousin George. Um, she has totally embraced it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I loved her straightforwardness because some of the shit that was put on her was like bullshit. So she would call it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she was a feisty one. And I looked up to her. I remember, I can tell you exactly what she was wearing on her engagement. Now they're older than me. They're 60. I could tell you, this is how much I looked up to her because she was probably the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Like she
Love
was
that.
absolutely beautiful inside and out. I love Janet. Anyway,
So there were no did your family have like were there barriers for wanting to marry a Xeno? Like, or was it more you need to amalgamate, you're here now? Like, I'm always curious at what that's like.
Well, it's funny. We were talking about this to Jonathan with his new girlfriend about immigration and how when our parents came to Canada, they wanted to be Canadian
Yeah,
so bad. They didn't care that they were marrying Xeni like outside of our like, but the majority of them just accepted who we were and our traditions. My mom, like, she would talk about how she just wanted to be Canadian so bad. Like, she even changed my name. Like, my legal real name is not Val.
right.
It's
Yeah,
Vula.
yeah.
And my uncle, um, he said, "Listen, if you're going to put her in school with a name like Vula, they're going to make fun of her. We're different, right? They got picked on as immigrants, you know. They were there's racism against them, so on and so forth. And they changed my name to Valerie because he loved the name Valerie. I don't know where he heard it from or whatever, but
Yeah.
that's how I got my name Val. So they wanted to be Canadian so much that even my name was changed.
Yeah, that's great. And I grew up in a location or surrounded by people who were trying to hold on to that Greekness so much, right?
They
Like it
did
was
here too.
no,
They
well,
did both.
yes and no, because I just can speak to like what I hear from my husband, which is similar story to yours of the parents, sort of amalgamating, is that even the word? Just wanting to be so Canadian
Yeah.
and making sure that their English was on point so they could get through and do and whatever. And this brings me to the story of that I share with about my dad all the time. My dad always said he didn't learn perfect English so his kids can learn Greek,
Yeah.
because if he learned perfect English, there would be no reason for his kids to speak Greek,
Yeah, no, I get it,
right?
but my mom, like, they were so proud. They were so proud and honored to have the opportunity to come to this country because it
Yeah,
was so amazing.
yeah,
Now it's a different story, unfortunately, in my opinion. And I said to my mom, like, I want to move to Greece, back to Greece, and she's like, "Oh my God, we left for a better life." And I said, "Yeah, we're going to move back for a better life." The tables have turned definitely in the last few years, but it's yeah, like my mom had a grade 6 education in the village.
yeah,
Never left the village, never left her bubble. So when they were coming to Canada for the first time, she had a 1-year old, my brother Steve. They were down in Athens to jump on the boat. Like, they were fresh off the boat, right? And she never saw different cultures. She only read about them in her grade school books. So my mom was in her 20s before she saw the first time she saw a black guy.
yeah,
She was like, "Oh my God, there's that person from the book. Look, Louis, look." She said to my
right.
dad, "Look, the person from the book they told." And I think she saw an Asian person. Like, "Oh my God, there's the people from the book," because that's all she knew.
But and we have to remember back then, the late 60s, early 70s, Greece was not as diverse. Greece
No.
was not as diverse as it is today.
Yeah.
Like today, you'll walk down the streets of Greece and there will be black people speaking better
Everything.
Greek than some Greeks.
Oh my God.
Because, a lot of influx from Africa and whatnot. And these are, they're born there, so they're Greek. But
Well, the
when
Greek
my
freak, look at the big
well,
basketball
yeah,
player.
looking at the Mukumbo, right?
Yeah.
But mine, when my parents, because my parents left in the early 70s, a little bit later, I think, than like my in-laws came in the late 60s here. There wasn't, it was similar, right? Like they didn't know what they didn't know. I joke that, I met my first Jewish person at like, 18, because I went from a community of Greeks to a Catholic school my whole life. Where would I meet a Jewish person? Like
Yeah.
I was so entrenched in these religions that there was no reason for me to like my path would just never cross, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in the United States. The melting pot of the world, blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we moved from Nexeni to a whole different situation, but
That's
I'm
okay.
I'm always curious as to, because so growing up again, we were the only people to come. My parents were the only siblings to come to America. Um, 41st cousins, everybody's in Greece, everybody married a Greek. But my friend group, so like let's call it Greek school friends that I still remain friends with during like my university days, whatever, and then my core Greeks from BC, I had a couple of guy friends and we like had a bet. Like I was like, "You're gonna marry a Greek, you're gonna marry an American." Like it didn't matter what it
Yeah.
was. And they were like, "Well, you're gonna marry a Greek." I'm like, "Well, it's non-negotiable." Like that for me was, I needed someone who was over 6 feet tall and under their last name had to have less than 10 letters because my last name is so long. Like those were my two. That's as
Yeah,
far as I got, right?
yeah.
And it was just we grew up with, and I'm going through now all my Greek girlfriends in the States, and I maybe one, two might not be married to Greeks.
Oh, wow.
They're all married to Greeks.
My friends growing up, well, see, where we grew up in East York, we were at Maine and Danforth, which was a melting pot, really. It was a lot of Canadians, Italians, Greeks, Massies, um, and a few like Indian, Jamaican sprinkled in, right? So we were actually very mixed. Um, but out of my friends, so when I went to East Shore Collegiate, that's when it was primarily all Greek people.
Okay.
Most of them, I think, married Greek. Um, Now I don't have a ton of friends that I even remember, but the Munja Cakes married Munja Cakes. Canadian, the Greeks, I think, married Greeks. And I never thought I was going to marry my own kind, I'll be honest with you, because of how I grew up. And then I met, and I don't know if I wanted to marry my own kind because they're just different, they were just different. Anyway, I lucked out. Both of us lucked out with the guys that we married. They're very smart, amazing husbands. And I'm grateful to my mother-in-law who raised
Yeah,
my
I say the
husband
same.
in a
Our husbands are
particular
not
way.
your typical Greeks. It's okay to say that. And I'm
Yeah,
not knocking those typical Greeks, but you and I would not have survived with a typical Greek man. Let's be honest. I would have married one at 20,
yeah,
had 3 kids, and been divorced by 28. Like
yeah,
I say that all the time because I can't deal with the power struggle that those types of people around me would have probably produced for the rest of their lives, right?
yeah, yeah,
That like they couldn't handle me. Let's leave it at that. And I think that's why we ended up with where we ended up, right?
yeah,
With
yeah,
who we ended up. But I think that it is it's interesting because even people I know who did sort of the first marriage and went on to the second one, by the second one, they were looking for their own kind. So even if they had married a Xeno, they were looking for a non-Xeno the second time around. My reasoning for it was I knew it would be easier, if that makes sense. Like I
Tony
was
says that
set.
all the time, Rula.
I
He
was
said I
set.
wanted my own kind. It's just
M-
easier.
My kid was going to go to, I know I wanted children. I knew I wanted them to go to Greek school. I knew I wanted them to be as Greek as I was. I knew I wanted all those things. And if I had to bring someone along, like there's just nuances that when you're Greek, you get it. And I don't
Yeah,
need to explain every single little, I give you the look and like, oh shit, right? Whereas I'm not saying that someone who wasn't Greek couldn't catch up, but at that time in my life, I got married, a little bit older. I didn't want to put in that much work,
yeah.
right?
You lazy bitch.
I'm not, well, I'm being on. Maybe if I got married at 20 something, 22
Yeah,
after I
no.
graduated, fine. But, in my 30s, I wasn't dealing with that.
Yeah, it just makes life easier, like both like I'm not a traditional Greek Massey family with the way we grew up. And then even Tony's family, it was a little bit different coming into it as well, but I loved my mother-in-law, let me tell you. Like so they did a family trip to Greece, and you know how they will buy plika
Yeah.
for like their future brides. So she had a gold bracelet that she bought for Tony's future wife, even though we hadn't met or whatever, that he was like young when they went, right? Anyway, she had given me this bracelet. It was beautiful. I still have it. It's like this thick, gold around. And so she gave it to me. My mom was here, and she said, "Oh, Vula, now that your mother-in-law, now she's saying this in Macedonian, now that your mother-in-law gave you that bracelet, you have to listen to her." So I turned to my mother-in-law and I said, "Ma, did you hear what my mother said? Now that you gave me this bracelet, you have to listen to everything I say." She said anything, because my
Oh,
mother-in-law was salt of the earth.
no.
Like what lady. Okay, let me just she used to say about me and Tony, the pot found its lid,
Yeah. Yep. I
because
love
we
that.
really are each other's perfect person.
Yep.
But I'm a very picky eater. For those that know me, I'm very like one lane, but I like my food but I'll always go after the same thing no matter where we go. It's very rare that I will tend to try something new. Actually, Andrea Nicholson made me try tuna tartare at the last Ladies Who Dine, and it was fucking delicious.
See, when you go out of your comfort zone.
I was like, whoa, like this is really good. I fucking tried it. It was delicious. But my mother-in-law would cook dinner for everybody, and because I was so picky, she would make something different just for
Oh,
me.
I love that.
Come on.
I
Salt
love
of the
that.
earth. Best mother-in-law ever.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, I was very, very lucky. But yeah, no, I'm happy that I married my own kind. It does make it easier, religious wise, cultural wise. Yeah, yeah, I'm blessed.
It's crazy because the other thing is I think of kids today and how would they meet? Like, let's be honest. How would you, if you were a 20 something year old Greek, Massey, whatever person,
Yeah.
where would you go to meet someone?
Well, I think they're meeting online, right? Church.
Other than online,
I got to plug in
right?
my computer. Sorry.
Yep. So you would meet online. It's not like, I mean, maybe a festival if people are still going to. I'll be honest. I've never been to a Greek festival in this country, so I can't.
Really?
Never. No one asked me to go.
Well, it's
Uh,
always on the weekend, so I can't go. But
I know.
when I retire, I'll take you.
Okay, thank you. But like we used to go we would festival hop. Girls, you know who you are. I had
Yeah.
my little group of girls. We would go from festival to festival, and the same six guys would be at every festival. And you'd see me, I see you. We would do the same song and dance at every festival. But that's, and then we got so a lot of my friends started meeting their partners in the early ages of online dating. And I remember writing, I will not reveal his name, but two guy friends of mine, I rewrote their dating profiles, and the next girl they went out with, they married.
Hey, look at Miss
So I might have a
Matchmaker.
future, and if you're still on the market, need someone to rewrite
Profile writing.
your your profile, look at you.
Yeah, no, we used to go to village dances.
Okay.
So our village, there was the Greek and the Macedonian. It's still separate. There's Banitsa Society, Vevi Society, and anyway, it's so stupid. But yeah, there was a group of us that would go to all the dances, Valentine's Day, Easter, Christmas. It was great. It was great. But that's not where I met Tony. I actually met Tony through the Greek church in Oshawa, and he wasn't
You
even
were set
there.
up, right? Were you set
We
up?
were set up.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that.
he had a kumbaro, the guy that baptized his sister's kids,
Okay.
saw me in church with my mom, and I guess they said, "Oh, she's a really good like daughter. She takes care of her mother." So he says, "Hey, Macedona, Elado." They call her the Macedonian. And my mom right away, here's her number.
She was ready to pawn you off.
Oh yeah, she was ready. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
it
I
was
love
good. But
it.
anyway,
I love
well,
it.
that was totally off topic, on and off, on and off. Whatever, fuck, we'll shoot the shit.
Listen, we can talk about anything and everything, right?
We can. That's you and me for sure. Next, politics. Stay tuned.
Oh God, no. They can't handle. I can't. They can't handle that.
All right. All right,
All
guys.
right.
Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Like, subscribe, make any comments. We love to hear from you. And I think we
see
should
you
go
next
out by
time.
going Falakia.
Bye.
Bye.